Hello, welcome to Soulprint Intuitive Tarot for May 18th. So yeah, I'm running a little bit late. I should have released this yesterday, but I didn't even do it yesterday. Um, so, couple things. First of all, thank you to the donors. So generous. I say this every time because it's absolutely the truth. It absolutely humbles me. So thank you very, very much. All of the support to the channel. Again, so grateful for it. And I thank you for your continued support. If you are looking for a private reading, in the drop box below this video is an email address. Send me out an email and I will send you the information that you're looking for in order to get a private reading. So let you in on a little secret here. Part of the reason that I didn't sort of have a video ready to go yesterday morning was because I honestly couldn't think of anything to read about. I think my mind just went mush. So I'm asking you if you could send in the comment section of this video suggestions for specific things you would like me to take a look at. So I don't stray from politics, okay? So if you want to know about Queen Elizabeth or Charles and Camilla, it meant not happening. I'm not doing it. If you are looking at very, very specific races in terms of primaries, I may or may not be able to access that simply because I tend to look for topics that have a broader energy imprint. But if we're looking at state by state, I can probably do that. If you're looking at particular politicians, I can absolutely take a look at that. So please send in suggestions because honestly, like I'm just sort of like, it's funny because with all the craziness going on in the world, like everywhere you look, it sort of just feels like, not that things are stuck, but maybe a little bit like they just are stagnated, like they're still running their course. So there's that. I've got a bunch of pendulum questions I want to ask today. So for those of you who like to do it with, grab your pendulums. And I think today I want to look at, how the Democrats are doing, okay? Because they have to make a lot of inroads this coming midterms in order to hold their position. And, the Democrats have always been sort of, they've always been more high consciousness, or they certainly have in recent years. And so they don't tend to stoop as low as the Republicans. But that also always sort of gives the feeling or the impression, that they brought, a knife to a gunfight, right? Like, so they're just not quite aggressive enough to push back against some of the crazy that's going on out there. So I want to take a look at, Biden, Mitch McConnell, and Nancy Pelosi, and see what's going on in their sort of individual, areas. Certainly, it feels like abortion is going to be, or reproductive rights is going to be one of the big factors going forward. And I have to tell you, just as I step into the energy, one of the things that I think is ultimately going to end up happening with reproductive rights is somewhere along the line. First of all, I think there's probably going to be a federal mandate. But beyond that, I also think that there's going to be some sort of a term limit imposed. So I don't know what that is, but literally, you have states that will abort a viable fetus, a month before it's ready to be born. As somebody who gave birth to a 10-week early baby, it is, they're viable. They're now, whether the spirit, the soul has entered the body, that's up for debate. We all have our own kind of personal opinions about that. But I think that one of the things that's going to, and listen, there's going to be exceptions. There's going to be exceptions for, rape and incest, and there's going to be exceptions for, danger to the mother's health, an incredibly non-viable fetus. But I think that you're going to have to sort of maybe reconcile yourself to the fact that if there is like a 20-week limit put on, and that's federal, that's like across the board, that's how it is. That's not a terrible thing. Like 20 weeks is a long time into a pregnancy. So that's just energetically what I'm seeing. I'm seeing that, and we'll check with the pendulum, but I'm seeing that Roe is most likely to be overturned. I'm also seeing that it's going to come back stronger and better. But I really think that one of the sort of compromises that it's going to end up being made is some sort of a term limit on when a child, or when a fetus is considered viable enough that, there's sort of a pushback against an abortion in late stage pregnancies. And I think, frankly, that most Americans agree with me. I think that, that 75% of Americans who want, those kinds of options available, the number that agree to a third trimester abortion it's like a really low number, like 18-20% or something like that. So I think that generally speaking, that is something that could be compromised on. Okay, that's sort of what I feel about that, just sort of because that's what is in my head right now. All right, let's focus in. So I'm gonna do this sort of with all three of them clumped together and see what I can see. Okay, so come on down because I have a question. Okay. Okay, and I know I said Mitch McConnell and I didn't mean Mitch McConnell. I obviously meant Chuck Schumer, for all of those of you who have already started to send a comment saying I got it wrong. Here we go. Biden, Schumer, Pelosi. Biden, Schumer, Pelosi. Biden, Schumer, Pelosi. I saw that Madison Cawthorn conceded his race yesterday. It's a good thing. Maybe in some states there's actually a limit to what people are prepared to put up with. But that doesn't mean that there were also a number of like sort of Trump endorsed people that got through. Okay, we have the Ace of Swords. We have the Ten of Wands, not surprisingly. We have the Devil, and we have the Nine of Cups. All right, so let's just start with these four. So what you have here is that the Dems on all three levels are really, really going to need a strong, consistent, repetitive message. Now, I suspect a lot of that is going to be around, the reproductive rights fight, and I suspect the voting rights. Okay? Those, I think, are going to ultimately end up being the Dem message. If you care about this or this, and you want it to change, you need to elect more of us, plain and simple. But make no mistake, it's going to be a really hard fought midterms. It's not, there's nobody handing, cake on a silver platter to the Dems. they're going to have to really, really work hard, because what the Republicans do, and they do it so effectively, is they just ratchet up everybody's fear and anxiety, and they go after this whole, they are going to like take stuff away from us, and us are clearly superior, like all of that crazy. But it feeds into a certain fear-based narrative. And so the Dems are going to have to really work hard to kind of get past that kind of thinking. And part of the problem that the Dems are going to be dealing with as they go forward is that there were a lot of things that people believe should have been taken care of by now. A lot of things that Biden said that he would do, and they haven't been done. And there needs to be, honestly, I think, more clarity and more understanding about what happens with a 50-50 Senate, because I don't think a lot of people understand to the degree that they should. There's sort of maybe this logic of, okay, well, if we're going to put a Dem, in the White House, maybe we'll put a Republican in the Senate or whatever. And that's not going to work, because as long as the Democrats stay in that sort of 50-50 position, the Republicans are just going to continue to block and block and block. But the reality is, with the Nine of Cups sitting here, the reality is this: they have a great potential to actually really, really make some gains, some really powerful gains in the House, in the Senate. And that, of course, is going to go towards supporting the White House's agenda. But like I say, they have a rather negative narrative they have to fight back against. They have to have a really, really strong message. And it's not going to be an easy lift. It's not. But, okay. So you have Justice and the Queen of Pentacles. So there is that sense that as you get closer to the midterms, and I think, honestly, a lot of this could very well start shifting when the January 6th committee starts doing their televised hearings, because I think that despite the spin you're going to get on, some networks, people are, those who are completely, I don't know, drank the Kool-Aid, you're not going to budge them. But the people that are sort of, not exactly clear what happened, don't whatever, think things were stolen, but then accounts keep coming back and saying no, they weren't. Those people are going to be watching. And so there's going to be, that kind of sense of almost like justice needs to be restored. And not only that, justice is going to need to be restored in the Supreme Court of the United States, because that is also lost its sort of base of integrity. But there's going to be the resources, there's going to be the energy put into kind of really building up the momentum and the interest going forward. Because as I understand it right now, the Democrats writ large are not interested in voting the way the Republicans are. And so they're going to have to get interested. So yeah, you know what? It feels as if they have the potential to make some significant gains. But and by significant, I mean like 2, maybe 3 more House seats. Senate seats. Sort of enough to cancel out Joe Manchin and Kristen Sinema. There's going to be the resources behind them. There's going to be a sense of community, a sense of family, a sense of we are all pushing back together against the Republican talking points, the Republican belief system, the Republican garbage. Okay. So that's looking like they could be okay. Again, can't minimize this. They're going to have to, one of the things that the Dems are going to have to do, and I see this particularly happening in Senate races, they're going to have to present sort of like a clear choice, a very clear narrative. Listen, if you go this way, this is what's going to happen. If you go this way, this is what's going to happen. What do you want to happen? Pick your side. Like a really clear sort of message. And a lot, it's going to get through. The combination of the hearings and just the way things are unfolding, things are going to get through. There's also, I think, some questions that I'm looking for answers for from the pendulum, but it feels as if there are some things that are going to shift enough so that people will sort of be more inclined to want to keep the momentum going as opposed to shake things up too much. Yeah, they can't rest on their laurels. They're going to have to actually start tooting their horn about what they've done, about what they've accomplished, and more importantly, what still needs to be accomplished and what they need the voters' help to accomplish. And it really is time for a new beginning. I don't know that Trump's influence is going to continue to be felt all the way through to the midterms. Again, it feels like there is, I don't know, like there's just stuff piling up against him that is going to make now. And listen, I mean, he had those people he endorsed who won and have been winning, but there's also a bunch that he didn't endorse that have been winning. So right now, he still has the power, but I continue to see that power just sort of like diminishing. And politicians are going to become more and more reluctant to kind of carry some of the extremist messages out there, except of course for the ones who want to be Trump clones. So, yeah, like I say, at this point, if the Democrats can get really good, strong messaging going, they can get clear, decisive issues out there. They have the potential to really be able to hold and perhaps even increase to some degree their numbers. Okay, so this is also really interesting. I just want to touch base with you on this. So I don't know how many of you have heard, but about a month ago, the Justice Department asked the J6 committee to please release the transcripts from their investigation because the Department of Justice felt that those transcripts should be able to shed some light or additional information on areas that they're investigating. Listen, we know the Department of Justice is investigating. We're just frustrated because it's not happening fast enough. But apparently, as of this morning, the J6 committee said, yeah, you know what, but we're just not exactly ready to release those things to you yet. So, it's that sort of interesting dichotomy, right? They yell and complain because the Justice Department isn't doing what they want. And then when the Justice Department says, give us this so we can move forward, they say, yeah, no, we're not ready to do that. Now, are they just waiting until a lot of stuff is out in the open? I'm sure they probably are. But I guess what I'm saying is, you can't have it both ways, right? You can't. You can't if you are pushing because they're not doing enough, and then the next thing out of your mouth is, but we are not going to help you. Sometimes you got to stop pushing because it doesn't look so good on you. All right. Pendulum questions. Here we go. So for those of you who might be new, just very quickly, when the pendulum goes side to side, like you can see it doing now, it means it's ready to talk. Pendulum, show me yes. Back and forth is yes. Pendulum, show me no. And no is round and round. Okay? Again, if you see any slight vibration or movement in my hand, it's not intentional. It is the energy that is moving through it to create the momentum. So my first question are the January 6th open healings, are they actually going to be able to change minds? Yes. And are those minds going to get changed to realize that no one stole the 2020 election? Yes. And is it going to be enough where people may very well turn against their Republican representatives or senators? Yes. So listen, I'm not saying it's going to be massive, but it's going to be enough, which is, what you're looking for. So one more time, is the Department of Justice investigating the events on and around January 6th? Yes. Okay. The bigger question, will there be indictments? Yes. Are those indictments going to reach the highest level of the Republican Party? Yes. And just so you know, I'm sort of asking present and former to take in like the Mark Meadows kinds of people. And is this going to hit the Trump family? Are they facing indictments? They will be. Okay. Is the rate of inflation going to settle down so it stops escalating? Is that likely to find some balance before the end of the year 2022? And that's also a really strong yes. And that's like really important, right? Because if you can bring those inflation numbers just into something that is barely reasonable, you're going to see people sort of being a little bit more receptive to the Democratic message. By the way, for Americans who are yelling and complaining about the price of their gas, gas here across the board, so when you average it all out in Canada, is running about $2 a liter. So what is, I think there's 3.5 liters to a gallon. And in some places, it's as high as like $2.40 a liter. So when everything gets averaged out, we are actually paying about $8 a gallon American prices for our gas. So as I say, when I go to the gas tank and I go to the gas station and I shudder, I think to myself, well, I guess this is my contribution to Ukraine, because that's at the base of it, right? Okay. Are the Dems going to have control of the Senate after the midterms? Okay, yes. Are they going to have enough control that they will be able to get some stuff pushed through? Yes. That's good news. Is the House going to maintain or increase? Stop answering before I ask the question. Is the House going to increase or maintain the control that the Democrats have now? Okay, so yes. Is Biden likely, Joe Biden, is he likely at this point to run for a second term? Okay, that's a fairly strong no. Way, way, way back, what feels like a couple decades ago, I did say, when I said that Joe Biden would win, I did say that he was going to be a one-term president. It very much feels like his sort of mission was to come in and try to clean as much stuff up as he can and reverse as much stuff, and then allow the sort of the party to go forward. Is Joe Biden going to complete his current presidential term? Strong yes on that. Strong yes. Okay. Is Roe versus Wade likely to be overturned by the Supreme Court of the United States? Yes. And is it likely to come back or be sort of, I don't know, it's like reconstituted and come back in a stronger form and a more permanent form? Yes. Will states that have really draconian anti-abortion measures in place, are they going to be reined in? And that's a yes. So that's sort of, okay, so let's just ask the obvious question. Is there going to be a federal mandate or law or whatever you want to call it, protecting abortion rights on a federal level that affects the entire country? Yes. And this is the interesting thing, right? Every year, abortions go down. The numbers like drop. And so it really makes you wonder what all the fuss is about if the numbers are kind of going down. It's like this is just the drum they've decided to beat, kind of whether it's valid or not. Is Putin actually sick? Yes, he is. Is the Ukrainian-Russian war, or frankly, the Russian war against Ukraine, are we going to be able to see some sort of light or an ending in sight as we move towards the end of this year? Okay, yes. Is Putin likely to still be in control of Russia at the end of the year 2022? No. Will any more Supreme Court justices leave the bench this year? It's a pretty strong yes. Is it going to be 2 or less? Okay, so yes. Is it going to be 3 or less? No. Is it going to be 2 justices that leave the Supreme Court before the end of this year? Yes. Okay. Those were my questions. Please don't forget to send me some suggestions because I gotta tell you, like my mind's a little blank. And so, yeah, that's a great thing. So I'm gonna say I'm hoping to get a video out on Friday. I'm not gonna promise it right now. I'm very low energy right now for whatever bizarre reason. Maybe it's the Mercury retrograde thing. In fact, it probably is. But I'm really hoping that by next week for sure I'm back on track. So until next time, take care, be well, and we'll see you really soon. Bye bye.